I feel like this happens every single time that I decide I like a weekly and recreate it for the week following. The first one ends up getting used properly, and then the second one just doesn't get used at all. Hello again team, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin, and today I'm going to be setting up for week 22 of 2019. Having a look at this week, as I mentioned, it's not really getting used. This week I have my mum over, so my evenings I've been spending more with her than actually doing things in my journal like I usually would do. Outside of that, however, I also haven't really been getting into my journal during the day, so I haven't really been writing down the things that I've been getting done, or the things that I want to get done. I'll be changing up this layout for next week, so before we get into it, just a reminder that any of the equipment I use in today's setup is linked in the description box below. As I've been doing for the past couple weeks, during today's video I'm also going to be answering questions. And our first question comes from Kim, who asks, where did you buy your washi? They're really pretty. In the assumption that you're talking about these metallic ones, Kim, I didn't actually buy these, I got them from a friend. And I'm not too sure where she got them from, sorry. But for the most part I like to get my washi tapes off AliExpress, because they have a pretty good range there and they're on the cheaper side of things. I do also use Spotlight here in New Zealand because they have really good sets, or packs of washi. So for instance, one of my favourite sets from them is this kind of watercolour washi tapes. And then I've also got a bunch of just colour themed ones, so like purple, blues and greens. Some other places I've gotten my washi tape before include Officeworks in Australia, and I found these little kind of dispensers of these, I think they're about 6 or 7 millimeter washi tapes. To start off with, I'm going to go in with my Pitt Artist pen and rule up my grid. Our second question comes from Purani, please tell me if I'm saying that wrong, who asks, what music do you listen to? I don't really have one particular genre that I like to stick to. I like to listen to a bunch of different things. At the moment I'm like really taken with country music, so I've been listening to a lot of that. Within the past couple of months I also got really into K-pop as well, so I've been listening to that. I listen to a lot of the songs released from the contestants of RuPaul's Drag Race. So, I don't know, drag race music, is that a thing? Favourite bands though would be Breaking Benjamin, Fall Out Boy, Simple Plan, all of the things that I listened to when I was an angsty teenager and nobody understood me. Stuff like that. Now as I have my grid ruled up, I'm going to go and lay down my washi tape and then add in some colour. Our next question comes from Professor Lucas, who asks, what is your favourite thing about bullet journaling? A benefit, a type of spread, the experience of doing it, something else? I answered a similar question to this one a couple of weeks ago, but I think if I had to pick my number one favourite thing about bullet journaling, I think it's mostly just the fact that I feel like I've found my niche in terms of creativity. A lot of my other creative kind of pursuits, I guess you could say, I've just fallen off with. I don't stick to them. So having found something that I can do to be creative that I've actually stuck with for quite a while now is just a really satisfying feeling to me. Of course it's that and the fact that it gives me the illusion of having my life together. But other than that, I think it's mostly just the fact that I feel like I've found a passion that I'm going to be sticking with for the rest of my life. If anybody's wondering why I wasted that giant tail of washi tape before, it's because some of the edges had the colour coming off them and I wanted a nice solid blue. Because I wanted 4 even rows of boxes down the page, I had to put this kind of banner at the top underneath where my usual header is, so I'm just going to go fill that in with my brushed tipped Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen. Is it concerning to anybody else that it's almost June? Where did the year go? I haven't actually decided on a theme for my June spreads yet. If you had a suggestion, I would love to hear it. Also, as a reminder and a bit of a shameless self-promo, make sure that you head over to my Instagram if you haven't already to check out the giveaway I'm doing for this Dingbats notebook. I'm really excited to start using mine come mid-year, and I think it would be cool if one of you guys had won your own one too. Of course, if you don't like free stuff, you don't have to enter. I'm not going to make you, but I just wanted to remind you. Our next question comes from Bob King Bob. Not that I know if they intended this to be a question for the video, but I'm taking it anyway. Who says, I really love your videos. Thank you. And I'm wondering why you're not using dailies. I did try using dailies back in March. I tried to use dailies back in March. Let's see if we can find those. And yeah, it was a short-lived experience. I couldn't consistently come in, and by missing a day it kind of made me feel, I don't know, it didn't feel right. You can see, yeah, I got lazy on this one. I just kind of stopped. But I think the nice part about having my weekly layouts is that I've got a bit of structure so that I could put tasks in ahead of the day that it was. Does that make sense? So like if it was Monday, I could put down my tasks for Tuesday without having to have already headed it up. I don't think I'm explaining this well. Okay, so the way that I use dailies, if I use dailies, is that I write a header and I write down my tasks to do for the day. Like most people who do dailies, I assume. And then at the end of the day, I make the header for the next day. The issue I was having is that if I had in my mind tasks that I needed to get done, not on the day that it was, or the day after, like a couple of days in the future, so let's say it was Friday, and I had a task that I needed to do on Tuesday, I didn't feel like I had anywhere I could write that down. Whereas if I set up weekly spreads, I do have somewhere to put that. Like I dedicate a space on my weekly to write that, or I've already set up the space for the Tuesday task list so I can put the tasks on the Tuesday. I think that was better explaining, but still probably not good. Let me know if you understand what I mean there. So yeah, I like to have the structure of weekly layouts where I have my boxes for each day of the week for my events if I need it, or if I needed the boxes for each day of the week for my tasks. So for example, like on this one where I had my little task boxes here for each day of the week. I like to have that structure ahead of time so that then I can schedule tasks and events ahead of time. Yeah. I may misjudge the spacing on that a little bit, but that is okay. So I'm just using my Uniball Signo white gel pen now to do some outlining on this because I liked the definition that it gave last week. Well, this week and last week. While I'm doing this, our next question comes from Francesca, who asks, as a teacher, how would you recommend a student get ready for the final year of high school? I am nervous. Well, first of all, good luck for your final year of high school. I can understand why that would make you nervous. I think that my biggest piece of advice would be to prepare further in advance than you think you need. I think that especially for students who are getting towards the end of high school, they've usually developed a lot of techniques that allow them to do things last minute when they need to, which is awesome because, you know, you need to be able to do things last minute if it's ever necessary. But I think a lot of the time students end up relying on these a little bit too much, so they don't make the best use of the time that they have prior to deadlines, like, you know, in the lead up to deadlines, to get work done as efficiently and as effectively as they possibly can. So it means that when they get towards deadlines, they end up having a whole bunch of work to do that could have been spaced out over a lot larger period of time. The recommendation I give my students is always that with all of your studies, a little bit a lot is much better than a lot a little. And by this I mean, if you give yourself small amounts of things to revise over a longer period of time, then you're going to end up getting more out of that than trying to cram a lot of content into a shorter amount of time. Hopefully by this point, if you're in your final year of high school, you've developed some pretty good techniques for how you like to study and how revising works best for you. So make sure you're implementing those, but also try out some new ones as well, because it's always good to try new things to start with, but also you might find that certain techniques are better suited to some of your subjects than other ones. So playing around with different types can get you to better revise the content you need to, if that kind of makes sense. Also, just have fun. I mean, high school for a lot of high school students feels like a lot of pressure. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of pressure in high school, especially nowadays. We expect you to know a lot of things and be able to show that in a way that isn't necessarily the most fitting to the way that people can demonstrate what they know. What I'm talking about is exams. Although it is stressful, I understand that, do be aware that life only gets more stressful as you move out of high school and into tertiary studies if that's what you go into. So do make the most of the time that you have left, especially because, at least for your friends at high school, this is probably one of the last periods of time that you'll actually have to see them without having to organize it. Once you guys move into tertiary studies or into the things that you are doing beyond the realm of high school, actually being able to make time for each other is really important and also kind of tricky to do because you guys will be doing so many different things. At least while you're at high school, you have scheduled breaks where you get to see each other and you're all probably in the same place. So do make the most of that time. I hope that was helpful. If anybody else has any other suggestions for Francesca though, please do drop them in the comments. Especially if there's anybody who has recently left high school, because your feedback and knowledge of high school is going to be the freshest of all of us. I'm now going to use my Pit Artist pen to write down the initials for each day of the week, and then this section down here is probably just going to be for like what's coming up next or notes. What I didn't actually realize up until just now is that I wasn't actually supposed to extend these lines out quite as far as I did. I was intending on leaving these two columns here as running to-do lists, but that didn't happen, so I guess they're just going to be daily checklists instead. Ugh. While I'm putting my events for next week in here, I'd like to throw a question to you guys. So earlier Purani asked what music I like, and as I mentioned it's things like Breaking Benjamin, Simple Plan, Fall Out Boy, all of that. I'd like to know what you guys' favourite song at the moment is. I'm always on the lookout for new music, so I'd love to hear what you guys are listening to. For me, my favourite song at the moment would probably be Pop Stars by KDA. My friend introduced it to me and now it's like our go-to sing-along in the car song. Even though I don't know what half the words are. Thank you for watching. If you liked today's video, feel free to go check out another one. Until next time, bye!